All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is February 8th, 2019. We are watching and praying. We are in awe that we're so close. The escape of the bride is coming. We have proven it. Guys, I pray you guys had a good week. I know it's getting difficult for some people with this. There's this feeling, there's this tension, there's this sense within us for those that are watching and praying and seeking Him and repentant that, sometimes we just get all kind of bunched up, right? Well, today we are going to go into some things. Guys, you're going to want, I don't know how long the video is going to be, probably around the usual. But you're going to want to watch all this video, even especially as we get towards the end. We're going to be talking about a lot of the things that are about to begin. We're going to show what we've talked about here many times regarding our 14-year timeline chart. For those that are new, maybe I can get that out of the way right now. Maybe not out of the way. But for those that are new, you want to watch these videos here. I mean, go ahead and watch this video. It's fine. But you're going to want to watch these videos first, all right? This is part 1, the 21 years. This is part 2, breaking down the 14 years. This is part 3. It's Daniel's final prophecy numbers. Here's part 4, showing that pre, mid, and post are all true because there are 3 comings of the Lord. They're not all coming to the earth, all right? The final one is feet down on Mount of Olives. And then there's another one right here. This is part 4B. All right, it continues opening of the book. So we talk about pre, mid, post, and then the opening of the books, showing these books that are revealing to us end time understanding. So those are the 5 that we have so far. Can't believe that one was already 4 to 5 weeks ago. You can also come over here in the playlist. You see this? It says End Time Prophecies to Timeline with study notes. These all have study notes. There's another grouping in the playlist that has Operation 14 Years. You could watch that as well. But these study note series, this one here that you see in the playlist, or you can just come to the videos here and click on these. They are more detailed than our original from several months ago, Operation 14 Years. It's the same thing, but just with some study notes and more detail because more scriptures have been revealed to us, all right? Again, Calgary is very cold. I can still see my breath in this video. I've got the heaters going. So if you're hearing some, excuse me, not coughing, if you're hearing some sniffling, just be patient, try to ignore it. All right? So I wanted to start with that just to let you guys know when you hear 14 years, you're going to be scratching your head if you're new to the ministry. The end time is 14 years, all right? It is 14 years. It is 7 years of seals, 7 years of trumpets. There are approximately 14 years left before the Lord comes, feet down on the Mount of Olives. And He's coming on Mount Zion, which is going to be above the earth. Excuse me. Above the earth. At the beginning of trumpets, but they'll see Him coming before that. They won't know it's Him, everybody, but they'll see Mount Zion coming down. What else? Yeah, I just want to not get it out of the way, but I wanted to let you guys know you're going to hear 14 years and it's going to baffle you. And there's a lot of people out there that are talking about it's this year, it's about to happen. I'm telling you, they're saying it's about to happen. The bride is about to go. They're correct. It's 100% true. But they're teaching in regards to the tribulation and the timing of the events in the tribulation. That's where the majority of it is wrong. All right? But, they talk about a 7-year. There is a 7-year for the church. And there is a 7-year for Jacob's trouble. All right? But the 7 years for the church isn't all the church. The bride is about to be taken out first. We'll cover some of that today as we get into this. And we reveal this. The focus of today is it's going to be a little bit about the events within 14 years because there's a piece that I really want to show you guys. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right. So I just paused in case you didn't know. So we're going to touch on these things that are going to talk about events within these 14 years and show how they're true. Now, we've done this many times. We're going to do it from a different angle. We're going to touch on some things, but and the way we're going to end it is really exciting. And I'm going to show you ahead of time where these things are. We're going to go through our timeline chart that was done over a year ago or about a year ago, and show you guys the events where we talk about them in the timeline based on what the scriptures tell us within the timeline. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie it into a video that Keith had sent me, and I spoke about. Keith Klein, one of the guys, one of our brothers here in the ministry on YouTube as well. He sent a video about a week ago, a few days ago, that was interesting. It was about a guy in relation to the year 2033. And I've sent the video to a handful of you guys that we're in communication with regularly. And it's propaganda. It is from the enemy. But what it confirms for me, now, many of the others that I sent it to, the other handful or so that I sent it to, are probably, they're like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. For me, it was, like I said in the previous video, I didn't show it, I mentioned it, but I decided I'm going to build a video kind of, not directly around it, but that we're going to use it towards the end. And I'm going to play a chunk of the video to show you these years and these events that he talks about that take place. And it's pretty wild, guys, because for those that are new to the ministry, or even those that have been around for a while, especially those that are new, 14 years. When have you ever heard 14-year tribulation? All right? When have you ever heard a timeline of 14 years? Right? You're not going to hear it. As far as we know, everywhere we've searched online and on YouTube, we have not found 14 years of tribulation, 7 years of seals, 7 years of trumpets to come, and it's all about to begin. So when I take you into that video towards the end, you're going to be like, what? It's definitely from the enemy, but it is a massive confirmation for me that it's about to begin, that we are moments away. It's like the Lord gave us a piece from the enemy to say, here you go, to give you guys more comfort and confidence in what you are teaching. That it is true. You're hearing from me. And I don't need this to believe that. I'm just going to show you a confirmation from the enemy as to everything we're talking about. Okay? It's amazing. But the early part of the focus, we are going to touch on the 14, like I said. We're going to go into the timeline chart. And we're also going to go into a focus of these 40 days, right? We spoke a little bit about it here. And we're starting, guys, to get a little bit more detail, more understandings coming in. I'm not going to go into this today, but you guys can go search this up. Will I have time to touch on it? I don't think so, to get into it, I mean. But you guys can go look at it. And if you've been following this ministry for any amount of time and understand, we know that there is a 40-day something coming first. All right? There's going to be the appearing of the Son of Man to those who are his, and they're going to remain, we believe, for a 40-day time period. All right? And so I'm not going to get into this, but this was something that came in from Jewel, one of the subscribers here in the ministry. And I'll let you know, this was very exciting to read because it touches on events and things relating to the 40 days, but I really need to go into more detail to connect scriptures to it, because just reading it for many people, it's confusing, or it can be confusing. And the reason I say that, it's just like everybody, if you read the book of Zechariah, for example, well, you read Zechariah, and Zechariah is what it is, and there's some detail and there's some information there. But when you have the end time understanding, this ministry was touched by the Spirit to bring about end time understanding, the opening of the books for Scripture, from the Scriptures. And when we now look at books like Zechariah, for example, we see the entire 14 years there. Now, we see events within those 14 years. It's not that every chapter is the entire 14 years, all right? we've been revealing many chapters within the scriptures, Old Testament and New, that reveal the 14 years. And they give us different points of view, different pieces of the understanding of events that will take place in those years. All right? And you must remember, a year goes from spring to spring. You must remember that, all right? So I just bring this up because I was saying how it's getting very interesting. We are so close from the escape of the bride, but first there's a 40-day that's going to come. There is a 40-day event where we're told in Luke 11 that Jesus said in Luke 11 that as Jonah was the sign to Nineveh, so shall the Son of Man be. All right, now what sign? Come on now. What sign was Jonah? Jonah was a 40-day sign, right? Walking in, he was the sign declaring it in Nineveh. Well, the Son of Man said he is also going to be a sign, a 40-day sign, as Jonah was. Not in the belly of the fish. That is towards the end of the 14 years. That is with, that'll be from Matthew, for Judah. All right? This is speaking to the bride. This is the beginning. This is going to kick off the 40 days. All right? At the end of the 40 days, look what we have. The Queen of the South, who's going to rise up in the judgment. All right? In the judgment with the men of this generation, and shall condemn them, right? This is the tribulation beginning. Who's this Queen of the South? Revelation 12:1. All right? And when she's in travail, what does that mean? The word travail and pain that we read in Revelation 12:1 is is tribulation. It's the tribulation of the seals. All right? It's one of the aspects, just like so many of these books that are opening up, they're giving us pieces of events that'll take place during those years. All right? So the Son of Man, Jesus says he will be the sign. He will be here with his chosen people of the bride, and their job is going to be for the next 40 days to go out and to proclaim for 40 days that it's about to take place. The escape is about to happen. Now, is it possible the ready ones are going to escape and it's just a select group that are going to remain? Yes. But this group is going to wake up the rest of the bride that was still not quite ready, that was still sleeping a little bit, all right? They were still in their churches wondering what's happening for real. And these people within that 40 days that were chosen by the Son of Man, all right, like his shepherds that we read in Luke chapter 2, they're selected to go out and proclaim it to everybody. And they're going to be proclaiming for the 40 days. And we're going to show you this connection into the discourse as well, all right? This is about to happen. And when we go into the Old Testament, you know, remember, we've mentioned this before, that Jesus says, "Who was I?" Some say the prophet, some say the Son of Man, he's referred to as the prophet, he's referred to as the high priest, he's referred to in the Old Testament in Ezekiel, he's referred to as the Son of Man. All right? Ezekiel is called the Son of Man. So if we're looking for more understanding in this whole Son of Man thing, we should probably be spending a little more time in Ezekiel. Now, we've done this before, all right? We've talked about this stuff in Ezekiel. But I want to tie this in to the video I'm going to show you guys as we build and go on into the 14 years and into the beginning, into the 40 days. And then I show you that video as we tie this all together. All right? This Son of Man appearing is what is about to take place. But let's start off, let's go back to where we were. All right? Because I just wanted to, just to give you guys an example, I don't need to play this video.
Be revealed. Sorry, I'm laughing.
Everything
as I'm talking
is delayed. There we go. All right. So what I want to show you guys is you can come here on any of the videos in the description box, you just click show more. And of course, you can come there. We have our PayPal for the Ministry Revealed. You know, we're always needing support, guys. This is all I do, all right? I do this full time, hours and hours and hours a day of study and in prayer and, you know, talking with a number of you guys. So if you're able to support, we'd really appreciate trying to get some bills caught up. This is our website here. You can go to Ministry Revealed. This is another way under GoFundMe you guys can support us. This was that Operation 14 Years I was telling you about. This is the eSword program that we use right here. All right. We recommend it for everybody. But what we're talking about here is this right here. You can click on the 14-year tribulation timeline chart. All right. So when you click on it, it'll bring this up here. All right. So this is what comes up. Now, I haven't been able to change this because I don't know how to change this. This was done by a sister in Christ here, Linda, who put this chart together for us. There's more things we can definitely build on, like when the Lord comes on Mount Zion here, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm just showing you guys the 14 years so you guys can always print it off. You see, this whole portion here, you know, we were saying that, you know, is this the Elijah? No, as we've grown, like this was done over a year ago, right? This Elijah, all we do is change the name. You know, a lot of people don't like to hear that it's the Lord coming, the Son of Man. But it clearly told us the Son of Man is going to be the 40 days to us, walking around just like he did at his resurrection. All right? At his resurrection, he went around for 40 days to those that were his. All right? Appearing to those that were his. And then, you know, we'll get into this, but appeared to those that were his and then told them, get ready, I'm going to send you the promise of my Father, right, when the Holy Spirit came upon them. And then they got to know all things, all right? They got to understand what the Scriptures were speaking in relation to the Lord. So I used to kind of jump between, is the bride gone before the first seal, the white horse rider, or is the bride gone after? The bride goes after, I believe, you know. But it's like, is it right at about the same time and then 40 days for the other ones that once they're ready? So you see what I mean? It's a little bit before or a little bit after, you know, almost on top, however you want to do it. But I believe it's more like a little bit on the other side of the white horse rider. All right, so I've moved this in different diagrams from here to here, all right? But you're going to see, we just saw, and as we just saw, there's a 40-day that the Son of Man will be, all right? And the bride would go after that. Wait till you see what we're going to get into, especially when we get into Luke 21. Because when I was saying that there's been, you know, as we're getting closer to this 40 days, the Lord is leading us to give us more clues and more clues, like I said with that prophetic word that Jewel had sent us from 1993, that gave us more insight as to what we're seeking and trying to understand with what's going to take place at this 40-day warning. All right? So let's just look at this. Here we've got the first seal, second seal, third, fourth, pale horse rider, under the altar, destruction coming at the sixth seal. All right? And then between the sixth and the seventh seal, you have Chapter 7 of Book of Revelation, you have the 144,000 sealed, the rapture of the church, and then you have 6 months, right? It says at the seventh seal in chapter 8 of Revelation, it says about half an hour of silence in heaven, all right? That would be about 6 months on the earth, all right? It says about. So that will end your seals. And then what do we see in Revelation 14? We see these 144,000 that were sealed in chapter 7. We now see them where? We now see them on Mount Zion, all right? The 144,000 are now on Mount Zion with the Lamb. And the two witnesses are there, all right? The 144,000 are going to go out and do their work. The two witnesses are going to surround Jerusalem, right? They're going to be the protection there, and they're going to do all those things that we read about with the two witnesses. So you've had what? You have your 7 years of seals, but from the last year is what? the last year is a Jubilee, not a Jubilee, is a Shemitah year, right? Or a Sabbath year. So what is that? It's the year of rest. Well, what happens after the sixth seal? We read in the sixth seal, at the end of it, we read that they see him who's the face of him on the throne, hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, because his wrath is coming, all right? So that is the end of the sixth seal. And then this final year, you see, you have 6 months where the 144,000 are sealed. The rapture takes place, and then the second 6 months of that final year is silence in heaven, all right? Then you have trumpets, like I said, Revelation 14. The Lamb is on Mount Zion with the 144,000. This is paradise, all right? Mount Zion is paradise. You know, Jesse had mentioned that in a comment today, and I don't say that enough, but yeah, Zion, when Mount Zion returns, that's paradise, all right? It's not going to come down on the earth, all right? But that is your paradise. And the raptured group is going to be there, and the 144,000 will now be getting ready to work, and they'll be with the Lamb on Mount Zion over Jerusalem, okay? He's going to remain for the first 4 trumpets, all right, while they're doing what? While they're building during the first 4 trumpets. This is the first 3.5 years, all right? This is 3.5 years. You see right here? 3.5 years from first trumpet to the about the time of the 5th starting, all right? And what's happening here? Of course, we've got the trumpets going off, but Jerusalem is protected. And when we read in Daniel, we see what? That they're building the city and the streets and the temples being built, all right, in its correct place, the proper one, for 3.5 years. At the end of those 3.5 years, you see what? The 5th trumpet opens, which is just like Revelation 12. Revelation 12, this is now the year 2028, all right? This is 2018. It'll be over in 2024, right? In here, your sealing of the 144,000, your rapture is in the year 2024. This is the Lamb now on Mount Zion with the 144,000. This is the year 2025. This here, when Satan has lost his battle in heaven, that we see after the first 1,260 days, because after this big event of the 6th seal, when the whole earth is going to be just so decimated, especially in the Western world, it will have slowed down the rotation of the earth. And this section here is your 1,260 days, right? 360-day years it returns to. Why does it return to? Because the time of the Gentiles is over. It's now Jacob's trouble. It's returning to as it was in the days of Noah. All right? So now, after those 3.5 years, which puts us at the 2 witnesses have completed their 1,260 days of ministry. You see, Satan is then kicked out. The pit is open, and the fallen angels, and they're all coming down, right? This is when the demons, and they're all coming down. This is what's going to be the year 2028, and it's going to be the quote-unquote alien invasion, if you will, or aliens coming down, and so on and so forth, all right? Excuse me, they're not aliens, they're demons. This is when Satan comes down, and with all of his demons and the fallen angels and so forth, all right? And they're going to now take over Jerusalem that was being rebuilt, okay? They're going to make war with the 2 witnesses. The war with the 2 witnesses lasts, as we read, if you properly read Revelation chapter 11, he makes war with the 2 witnesses. Their ministry ends after 3.5 years, after the 1,260, but they are not killed right away. It says he makes war with them. So he makes war with them, and then those 2 witnesses are killed towards the very end of the 6th trumpet. All right? And when Satan has come down, what did he do? He also went after the woman, right? He went after Israel, the land of Israel, Jerusalem, the Jews. And they flew away into the wilderness for a time and times and half a time. All right? Now, you know what? I probably shouldn't even show this one anymore. Linda, if you are listening, it would be nice if we can maybe get a redo on this one. Because you see right here, there should be the word and. So you have for time, comma, there should be a word and here. It's a big deal because it's a difference between a year and 2.5 years and 3.5 years, all right? There's a reason that it should have an and like it does in Revelation 12:14, all right? Very important, but I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so we have Satan coming down in 2028 with his demons. That'll be the quote-unquote alien invasion, all right? And it's going to be as it was in the days of Noah. It's going to be horrific. From the beginning of trumpets till the end right here, which is 2030, all right? So you have 2025, and remember, you have all of 2025, all right? That's 1 year. All of 26, 2 years. All of 27, all of 28, all of 29, all of 30, right? Till the end of 2030, okay? Right in here. At the end of 2030, that will have been what? 6 years. All right? 6 years from the beginning of 25 to the end of 2030. That is 6 years of trumpets where absolute chaos like the days of Noah is going to be like, all right? And then crazier chaos when Satan and the quote-unquote aliens, demons are cast out. At the end of the sixth seal, at the end of the sixth trumpet, what happens? Same as the time of the seventh trumpet. It's a Sabbath year, right? And when you go read the seventh trumpet, what do you see? You see the glory of this earth has become the kingdoms of heaven, and the kingdoms of heaven on the earth, and you know they all belong to the Lord now, right? I butchered what it says, but you know what I mean. You can go read it at the seventh trumpet. It's also a break time until the end of it when he then pours out bowls. Okay? So when we see here, when we read in Revelation chapter 13, in Revelation chapter 13, the Antichrist, we're not told the first amount of time that he shows up. All right? He will have come about. He's going to be given his power and his seat and his authority. All right? And who can make war with him? Because it's going to be the time during the red horse rider. All right? So he is given power. See right here? He is given power and a seat and great authority. All right? When is this? Around the time of the red horse rider. All right? He is not the red horse rider. That's absurdity when you understand who the books are speaking to. All right? I know that's going to tick some people off, but the red horse rider, I just showed you, is the Son of Man. Okay? He is going to be the sign as Jonah was to give the 40-day warning. Okay? And we're going to touch on that. I'm purposely giving you this breakdown on this chart so that when we get to this video, you're going to see what I'm talking about. It's unbelievable. All right? So what ends up happening, you see he's given his power, his seat, and great authority. And then what do we see later? So the red horse rider, the seals of the red horse rider has taken place. The black horse rider has taken place. And now what's about to take place, right? Because war has happened. War, famine, okay? And they're worshiping him now. They're starting to worship him and give honor to him because the Antichrist did wonders to get people to believe in him, all right? That's what we're looking at here. See? There's your, where's the false prophet? First beast is revealed and war breaks out, all right? He's giving his power and his seat and his authority at the time of the red horse rider. There's famine of the word because you'll no longer be able to have scriptures, and there'll be famine of food and water and so forth. Then the second beast is revealed, all right, before the fourth seal, even earlier. And he's going to what? Get people to worship the first beast. All right? And then look at what it says. Listen to what it says. In Revelation 13, verse 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue. This is a very important word that people fail to read or to recognize. He's given power to continue 42 months. All right? He, prior to, meaning he had power for X amount of time before he was given power to continue 42 months. Why doesn't it give us a time frame ahead of that? Because there's this time frame of the white horse rider in those 40 days before war breaks out, and then he's revealed having been given power and authority. The bride will not know with absolute certainty who this guy is. The bride will be gone before it is clearly revealed whether it's Obama or MBS or whoever it may be. All right? We won't know. The bride will not know for sure because she's going to be gone. All right? But when we get to this point here at the pale horse rider, this is about the time, give or take right in here, in the year what? 18, 19, 20, in the year about 2021-ish to 2022. Remember, a year goes from spring to spring. All right? Starting in the year 2021, what's going to happen? The first beast given power to continue 42 months, and there will be the image and the mark of the beast that will begin. All right? Because you see here that the Antichrist, that the false prophet, all right, the second beast, started getting everybody to start worshiping the first beast. Okay, and then we know this whole thing here. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of his name. All right, and it's not to take the mark of the beast. All right, that no man might buy or sell except that he had the mark or the name or the number of his name. All right, and it's 666. We know this is a chip technology. As I showed you in the playlist, there's a playlist in there as well that has 2 shorter videos. And if you're going to watch it, you want to watch both of them. They are vitally important to give people understanding who are going to be here during the time of seals, during the tribulation. All right? What this mark is going to be and what it can do. I've done a detailed video on it showing that it's going to multiply cells. It'll either release DNA or it'll multiply DNA that is already ancient DNA within your body. And it will multiply it hundreds of millions and billions of times in your body. And you're going to change and you're going to have more powers. You're going to have more ability. Sickness will be, lessened and maybe eventually taken away, but lessened. So it sounds like a wonderful thing. Not if you understand scriptures, it doesn't. Because if you take that mark, we know what comes, right? You take that mark and you're eternally damned in the pit. All right? You'll end up in the lake of fire for eternity. Always screaming and wailing and gnashing like your flesh is always burning off your bones but never ending. It's going to be horrific. And if you take that mark, it is over. And when I show you this video a little later, you're going to see how this guy talks about it with it telling us it's absolute evidence that it's the enemy. But I'm building this up, and we're going to go into the 40-day stuff still, but I'm building this up to show you guys we knew this over a year ago. All right? When the Spirit started revealing who the Gospels were speaking to, then I was revealed the 14 years, and then we've been revealed the books that are opening that are giving us these end-time understandings. All right? So what do you have here? This is the time of what? The last 42 months. These are the 42 months that the Antichrist will have power to continue. All right? When approximately is he going to get his power to continue? All right? At around the time of the pale horse rider, which is what? The time of the beheading of the Christians. All right? Will it be happening in here? Sure. But when it really kicks into high gear, it's after he gets his power to continue 42 months, then it will get really crazy. It will be happening already, but in here, when you're now refusing the mark, this gets really crazy. All right? And this is in the year late 2021 into the year 2022. All right? Remembering a year goes from spring to spring. So on our calendar, it could be still the latter part of 2021, which is the early portion up to spring in the year 2022. All right? So very important that you understand that. And then we show from the year 2025, beginning of 2025, to the end of 2030, which is 6-year time frame, it's going to be crazier than anything we've ever, that mankind has ever witnessed. All right? This is going to be really bad, of course. This is going to be even much worse. And when Satan gets here, even way worse. All right? You're going to listen to this in the video, and that in 2028, that's when the quote-unquote aliens, demons, and everything show up. All right? Because they have lost their battle in heaven. So hopefully you guys can understand that now a little bit more. You can see where it ties in, okay? And now, let's go. Oh, that's right. I already had that as a window. Let me show you guys here what the process is, this 40 days time frame that we're watching for. Are we going to know exactly the day? Well, when we see this light, yeah, we absolutely are going to know. All right? But before that, we're trying to figure it out. All right? But we're so close. This is what I'm telling people now. We're so close within 3 months, not at 3 months, within 3 months. We are so close that it's not even a big deal anymore. Let's just grasp what's coming. Let's draw closer to the Lord and understanding the scriptures that are revealing him and what he wants to tell us for this time. All right? And that's what we're going to continue doing here. So let's go into Zechariah chapter 1. Didn't need to go that high. All right? Because I want to show you. You'll notice that Zechariah has 14 chapters. That's for a reason. All right? We know that the scriptures were Holy Spirit led. Well, so were the dividing of the scriptures in their chapters and in their verses. They were absolutely inspired by the Lord as well. And we've proven that here from Genesis to Revelation. It has been proven over and over and over again. Okay? It was funny to think that people said, well, it was divinely inspired, the written word of the Lord, but then those who went in to add chapters and verses, they weren't divinely inspired and the Lord just let them do that? No, you see, it was inspired as well. Now, the only other book in the Old Testament that has 14 chapters as well is Hosea. Why? Because this is from Judah's point of view, and this is from the Gentile point of view. All right? Jew and Gentile. Okay? But what do we know? Israel is like a timepiece, right? She's a clock. So if we want to get a better understanding as to where we are and the timing of things, well, we want to go to the ones that are speaking to Israel, right? The land of Israel, to Judah. Okay? And look at what we said. We're not going to go into all of this. I just want to show you this piece here. And it says in Zechariah 1 verse 12, then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, which thou hast had indignation? See, this is why this is so key, a program like eSort. You can go in and see what it means, all right? Understand the words. This is the prime root of it, right? To foam at the mouth, to be enraged. How long, Lord, are you going to have this indignation, this anger, and allow it to continue in Jerusalem and in the cities of Judah? All right? These, meaning currently, 70 years. You see, we are currently in the 70th year of Israel. And as you follow it down and you read, and you see here, saying, cry thou, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great jealousy. I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, at peace and safety. All right, that's what it means. You can go into the words. See, secure, quiet. You can click on the root of it. Peaceful, quiet rest. All right, peace and safety. For I was a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. All right, they helped forward the tribulation. All right, sorrow, trouble, pain, distress, affliction, bad, evil. All right, this is the year 2018. Chapter 1. The last chapter is chapter 31. It all ends in chapter 31. At the end of 31, then you'll have one more year, but it's the year that all the land is restored to the tribes, and the millennial reign will begin. All right? Chapter 14 would be what? Well, it would have to be the year that the Lord returns on Mount Zion, right? He's going to return on Mount Zion. He's going to clean up what I showed you earlier with Satan and all the demons when they went in to desecrate and to put in the abomination of desolation in the temple that the Lord was there building, overseeing the building of, right? He was up on Mount Zion, though, and they were there building it. The 144,000 were building it. The 2 witnesses were there. Remember that? And so he's got to come and do what? Just like he did before his death, he went in and overturned the money changers and wiped out and cleansed out the temple, right? Well, look at that. That's what he's going to do here too. All right? What happens in the year 2031? And his feet shall stand in that day on the Mount of Olives. All right? When we were talking earlier and I showed you that at the end of the 6th trumpet, all right, right after the 2 witnesses were killed and they're called up and say, come up, and they get up, what ends up happening? You see that there's a great earthquake at the very end of the 6th trumpet. There's a great earthquake, and then there's 7,000 that die, and then everybody else looks up to heaven, praising God and giving glory to God, and are saved. Why do you think that is? Because at the end of the 6th trumpet, all right, the Lord shows up. He's the one that causes that great earthquake that we read at the very end of the 6th trumpet. Just like he was the one that caused that great earthquake and his coming close and all of that over America. All right, that one at the end of the 6th seal. All right, that's what this all is. And it's all detailed in here. And this is the year 2024. And look at what it says in the year 2024. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yes, we are still in the year 2018. Remember, spring to spring. All right? And look at what it says here. Remember when we were in chapter 1, it said 70 years? Here we're now in the year 2024. We've done videos proving the timeline within the 14 years, the 14 chapters. And look at what it says in 2024. Speak unto all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when you fasted, past tense, and mourned, past tense, in the 5th and 7th month, all right, these are Jewish mourning and fasting seasons that they have, all right, in the 5th month and the 7th month, which they did this past year, okay, in the early mid part of 2018, okay, it says, when you did those things, all right, past tense, in the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, did you at all fast unto me, even to me? He's saying during those 70 years that you had in your land, and when you were having your fastings and your mournings in the 5th and the 7th months, over all those 70 years, did you ever do it for me, or were you just doing it for yourselves? See this? 70. There was no 71. All right? There is no 71. Here we are in the year 2024, and he's telling them those 70 years. You see that? those 70 years, like back here. And in chapter 1, what does it say? These 70 years, because they're in the 70th year. Israel will not see her 71st birthday without destruction. Complete annihilation? No, because the Lord's going to bring them back. All right? There is no 71, and this is what we're leading to with this whole 40-day thing. Now, where else can we see this? All right? We went into Zechariah. Let's go into Ezekiel. I'll do my best to stick to my notes, even though I've kind of veered off. I can get back on, no problem. We've talked about Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel is referred to, see, moreover, he said unto me, Son of man. All right? Son of man, you see everywhere. And he said unto me, Son of man. Look, and he said unto me, Son of man. You see, it would be a long video, longer video, if I just showed you all the places in Ezekiel that it said Son of man. All right? The Lord is speaking to Ezekiel as the Son of man. All right? So he's speaking to him as who? As a form of Yeshua. All right? As a form of the Lord. And what he's going to do when it begins. All right? Look at what happens here. This here is the setup of what takes place in those 40 days and what comes at the end of it. Just continue to follow this, guys. This is amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. All right? And the Spirit took me up. So Ezekiel 3, verse 12. And the Spirit took me up, and I heard behind me a voice of a great rushing, saying, Blessed be the glory of the Lord from his place. And I heard a noise and wings of the living creatures. They touched their wings together, and of a great rushing. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away. And I went in bitterness in the heat of the Spirit. But the hand of the Lord was strong upon me. Then I came to them of the captivity. All right? This isn't a bad captivity. All right? This is those who got to escape. You see that? So this is why I say there appears to be a group of the bride that is ready, that had been watching and waiting, who at the beginning of the 40 days will vanish. Will be what? Carried away. Who gets carried away, guys? We did this in videos when we did a teaching on Matthew, Mark, and Luke, right? Who gets carried away? And we're going to touch a little bit on this when we go into Luke 24. All right? Carried away is a bride, right? What do? You carry your bride over the threshold, right? And then the guests are received. You see that? Okay? You find that in Mark. They're received up, whereas the bride is carried up in Luke. All right? So this group here, then I came to them of the captivity, all right? Of those who were carried away in the removing, okay? Let's see that. At a green mound. Look at this. This is interesting. Okay, I'm not going to go too far into it, but Abib or Nisan. All right, which is what? In the spring here. Very interesting. Right? Because what happens in that time? Well, the death and resurrection of Christ. All right, and then 40 days is appearing for 40 days. All right? In April, but what? Before the 71st year of Israel. Okay? Before the anniversary of Israel. And so that dwelt near the river of Kabar, and I sat where they were, and I remained astonished among them 7 days, amazed, in wonder. I was numb. All right? They were all in awe. And I remained there 7 days. And it came to pass at the end of 7 days, that the Spirit of the Lord, the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, there we go again, I have made thee a watchman over the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word out of my mouth, and give them warning from me. All right? Remember, we're talking about this 40 days. See, you got this group that are to go out. All right? And give 40 days. Tell everybody 40 days. This is something that a lot of people that call themselves watchmen like to talk about, right? That if I don't tell the people, if I don't proclaim this, that it's coming, then their blood will be on my hands. They'll die in their sin, but their blood will be on my hands. All right? Because that's where they get it. It's right here. Okay? So this is what the watchman is going to do. When? In those 40 days. Okay, watch this. Then I arose and went forth into the plain, and behold, the glory of the Lord stood there as the glory which I saw at the river Kabar. See? The glory of the Lord is still there. All right? He sees him again. And I fell on my face. And then what happens? Then the Spirit entered into me. When does the Spirit enter, guys? I don't know if you guys, those have been following for a little bit. We read this in Acts. Remember, Acts has 28 chapters. There's 14 years and 14 years revealed within it. All right? I haven't done a video just on Acts. I keep saying I will. It is in my notes with 4 or 5 other videos that I got to do. All right? But it is revealed there. And what do we see in chapter 1? Watch this. Look at chapter 1 of Acts. What is it about? The Lord who's revealed himself to them for 40 days. All right? And what are they waiting for? The Spirit to enter them at Pentecost. All right? Let's go back. Remember, and that was 2018. And then into 2019, by the time it's Pentecost, it will be the year 2019. All right? And they're going to be doing work for the Lord during the time of seals. Okay? But there's this specific group that we want to stay focused on, which is just during that 40 days. All right? So we saw that right here. And you're going to give them warning from me. Okay, we saw that. Okay, there's the Spirit entered into them and set me upon my feet. Go, shut thyself in thy house. But thou, O Son of Man, behold, they shall put bands upon you and shall bind thee with them. But I'm going to make your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth, that you're going to seem like an idiot because you won't be able to talk. Why is the Lord doing that? You'll see, this leads us right into what we're going to talk about with Luke's discourse in Luke 21. All right? Why does he cleave his tongue to the top of his mouth? Because he doesn't want him to speak, because he has the indwelling Holy Spirit within him, who, if he speaks, he's going to be able to get these guys to just let him go. Because he has the power of the Spirit who's going to speak for him. Well, where do we see that? All right? We see that, of course, during the discourse. All right? And remember, we're in this 40-day time frame. Okay? And look what it says. And thou shalt not be able to reprove them, for they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with you, I will open your mouth. You see, when the Holy Spirit is going to speak for them, then I will open your mouth. And thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, He that hears, let him hear. He that forbears, let him forbear. For they are a rebellious house. When we go into Acts, we see, you see, what did we see earlier? Before the 40 days, we saw, or right around that time the 40 days is about to begin. Where is it? We saw when he was taken up, right? We saw when he was taken up, he gets up there and there's already a group that was what? Taken to that place. All right? To that mound. All right? They were the escape group, the ready bride. But it's not complete. Okay? When we go into the book of Acts, Acts 15, all right, there's your first set of 14 years. Here's your Acts 15, which is also the year 2018. And we came to the understanding of this a few months ago before I even realized there was another understanding in the first 14 in Acts. And Acts 15 is the year 2018. This took place here in Israel, in Jerusalem. I meant here on earth, but in Jerusalem this year in July 2018, all right? And what do we see here? Okay, they're talking about the burden that was put back on them. And then look what we see. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon hath declared how God at first did visit the Gentiles to take out a people for his name. And then what happens? After this, I will return, right, to build the tabernacle of David. This is when he returns at the end of seals, at the beginning of trumpets. Okay? And when we keep going down, what do we then see? We see the disciples. All right? Not the apostles, the disciples. They're given they're given this blessing. The Spirit comes to them, right? Or is about to come to them. They're ready. They're in one accord, right? Having been chosen. We can even do it here in Acts chapter 2. It's from a slightly different angle. Instead of Jewish, it's on this side. Listen to this. All right? So these guys made their way back. Okay? They made their way back, and they're receiving the Holy Spirit. Remember, look at this. Let me go back up here. Sorry, give me 1 second. We were in 15, which was 1. When we go into 16, we see that they're going from house to house, that they're preaching and people are getting saved, whole families and baptized and everything. And then they're captured and brought into prisons. Okay? In chapter 2, it's the same idea, but from a different angle. Now they have what? They were in one accord together, and they received the Holy Spirit upon them. All right? And they're filled with the Spirit. And now they go out, and it says, look, everybody thinks that they're drunken, but it's, of course, because they have the Spirit. Now, who are these guys that receive the Spirit? Was it the 144? Was it it's not the 144,000, they're later. Was it the disciples? No. Let's go back to chapter 1 in 2018. All right? You see, and they returned, then returned they unto Jerusalem and to the mount called Olivet, where the disciples, the 11 disciples already were. Wait till you see where this goes. Where the 11 disciples, so this is late 2018. They're gathered together in one accord during the 40 days. And what does it say? When they got there, the 11 disciples were there, and those that were with them, Mary and the women and so forth, okay? And with his brethren. And then Peter says, and in those days, Peter stood up in the midst of the disciples, not the apostles, the disciples there, and he said the number of names together were about 120. All right? These are the disciples. These are the theys that we see here. They were out and they came in, and this group was already there. And then when you keep going, then they're talking about choosing Matthias, all right, to replace Judas, who is now gone, who had killed himself, right? And they chose Matthias. When we go into chapter 2, which is 2019, we see what? Pentecost was come, which this year, Pentecost would be in that portion of spring of 2019. Okay? So now we've moved past the 40 days, haven't we? Moved past the 40 days and into the final 10. So you had the 40 days in chapter 1, and they were there together. All right, waiting those 40 days while the Lord had appeared to them by many infallible proofs. All right, and they all gathered together and they waited. And then when the Lord left, they waited for 10 more days. And when Pentecost was full come at the end of those 10 days, they were filled with the Holy Spirit. And Peter says, oh, everybody that was gathered about thought that they were drunk, but they're not drunk. It's only the third hour of the day. And who are these people? These were the 120 disciples. All right? Who are these people from? And I will show wonders in the heavens and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. This is in about the spring of this year. All right? This is that massive earthquake and volcanic eruptions that are going to be the kickoff, if you will, to the tribulation. All right? And this group is still going to be there with them, which we read in Psalms 18. All right? Psalms 18 into 19, a year from spring to spring, okay? It's incredible, all these connections. And watch this. Let's confirm this now. Let's see what Luke says in Luke 24. Okay? When you read the last chapter, I've done a video on this a while back. Go and study the last chapter of Luke, the last chapter of Mark, and the last chapter of Matthew. You're going to see the difference in the two men that appear. You're going to see completely different conversations, one from the other, but everybody tends to just always go to Matthew, right? It's ridiculous. There's different meanings in each one's for a reason. Okay, so watch this. So we know the women went, and they went to the sepulcher, and Jesus was gone. And they told some people they went to see it as well. Sorry, give me a second. They saw as well that it was empty, and Jesus shows up, but they don't recognize him, right? Because he's got his glorified body. But he looks like a regular person because they're not freaking out. Not yet, right? So he seems like he's just a regular Joe, and they start telling him, right? What are you? Don't you understand what happened? Right? The guy who was crucified, who was the prophet and so on and so forth. We're all sad because of it. And he's talking to them about a few things, that they had seen the vision of the angels that were there, and he's telling them the story. And he says, oh, you slow of heart, why don't you guys get what the prophets had taught you guys a long time ago? Right? And he expounds unto them the scriptures, the scriptures concerning himself. Okay, we'll keep going. Verse 30, and it came to pass, as he sat to eat with them, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it unto them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him. And he vanished out of their sight. This word vanished is only in Luke here. You're not going to find this word in relation to Jesus leaving in Mark or Matthew at all. This is the bride. This is an example of the bride. All right, but let's keep going because it's important. You're going to see this connection to what we were talking about in Acts, and then as well as Ezekiel 3, and we're going to go finish in Ezekiel, bringing you to Ezekiel 4, and we're going to start tying this in, okay? Well, it's already starting to tie in, but you'll see. And they said one to another, did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, while he opened unto us the scriptures? And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem. See that? And found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with them. See, this is what I was just showing you in Acts. All right? This is that time when the Lord showed himself unto those that were his, those chosen ones. See, he showed himself to them. And then what happened? For 40 days he was here and there with them, right? And then he vanishes. He's not gone yet. Okay, these guys are now gathering together. Oops. These guys are now gathering together, and when they get there, this is the evidence that these guys are the 120, and that it wasn't talking about the 11 and those that were gathered with them, right? Like Mary, his mother, and some of the other ones that were gathered. All right, the 11 gathered, and them, the ones that found them there. Okay? And then And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them and said unto them, Peace be unto you. But they were terrified. See, now they're thinking they saw a spirit. All right, he just suddenly appeared unto them. But it wasn't like previously, where he'd been walking along the way and sat down and ate with them. All right, he was in his glorified body, but he just looked like a regular person. And when you see that vision dream, that 1993 one that I showed earlier, and you read into that, it is powerful, powerful stuff, okay? And he said unto them, Why are you troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold my hand. So he shows himself that it's him, all right? And do you have any meat? And he gave them a piece of boiled fish. And he said unto them, These are the words which I spoke unto you, while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which are written in the law of Moses, in the prophets, and in the Psalms, concerning me. Then opened he their understanding, that they might understand the Scriptures. Thus it is written, and thus it behooved Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead the third day, and that repentance and remissions of sins should be preached in his name among all the nations, beginning in Jerusalem. And yet you are witnesses of these things. Remember, they had to be witnesses in Acts, right? Before they could be chosen. And behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you. You see that? I send the promise of my Father upon you. He's sending the promise of the Holy Spirit at the end of at the time of those 10 days that they have to wait. But tarry you in the city, but wait in the city of Jerusalem until you be endued with the power from on high. And then what happens? You see that he is carried up into heaven from them. When we go look at this briefly in Mark and in Matthew, we're not going to go to the Matthew one, you'll see it's completely different. Now, in Mark, what should be happening? We're at the end of Mark, so towards the end time of seals, and what should happen? It should then have a reference to the 144,000. There should be a reference to 2 witnesses, all right? And look at this. And after that, he appeared in another form unto 2 of them. And it was up to them to go tell the people, all right? And as they walked, they went into the country, and they went and told it unto the residue. All right? Unto the residue. All right? The remaining ones. Neither believed they them. Who? Who didn't believe? Those 120, that group that were the disciples for the bride? No. And afterward, he appeared unto the 11. See, the they of the 120 that were referenced in Luke, they're not here. Afterward, he appeared unto the 11, and he sat and eat and upbraided with them. He gave them heck like crazy for their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they would not believe them which had seen after he was risen. They refused to believe the 2 witnesses that he appeared to first. Okay? And he said unto them, Go you into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believes and is baptized shall be saved, and so on and so forth. All right? You can read it, and then what do you see? Then he was received up. This is the time now, the bride, right? After the 144,000 are sealed, this is going to be their work. They're going to be able to what? In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak in new tongues. All right? This is the trumpets portion. While the Lord is there, they're out doing these things. This is when they're going to be able to tread on serpents when when Satan is cast out of heaven. All right? And then you see what? Then the rapture group is received up after the sealing of the 144,000. Well, who are the 144,000? The 11. Holy cow, did you see that? The 11. The 11. Why do you think the 11, guys? When we read in Revelation chapter 7 with the 144,000, who's missing? Dan. Right? The tribe of Dan is missing. Who was Dan? Who replaced Judas? All right? Who replaced Judas as a good form of the tribe of Dan? Matthias. Matthias is the representation of that Scorpio, that either you're a serpent and you become like Judas, remember we talked about this in the revealed tribe of Dan, or you become an eagle as an overcomer, and you're the Matthias. You see, look, here we are in 2018 in Acts 1, and we had what? And they came and they abode where what? Who was already in the upper room? The 11. And what were they doing after these guys are all counted there? What were they doing? They had to replace Judas. All right? They had to replace Judas with somebody who had seen all these events take place. And so they could either choose between two people. Joseph, called Barnabas, whose surname was Justice. You can see, look at that. So Joseph's name means let him add. Barnabas means a son or grandson. All right? Let him add a son, and his surname is Justice, which means just. Let him add a just son. Because what does Joseph end up doing? When it's the time of the 144,000, you see, it's not Matthias's turn in the 144,000. You see, Joseph is going to be chosen, who has two. Joseph is let him add a son, all right? And what do we see in the 144,000? It's the 11, right? 10 or 11 plus the 2, or 10 plus the 2, right? You had Joseph, and he has the two sons. How did that work? No. I'm not trying to confuse you, because one that doesn't have one, which is Levi, has one. All right, so that took a spot. And then there's Joseph there with one of his sons. Okay? But my focus here on what I was getting at was Matthias. Here we are in the end of 2018, and the 12 are all gathered together with those 120, and they've chosen Matthias. All right, here in the last verse, they chose Matthias. It fell upon him, the lot fell upon him. So should there not be 12? Right? There should be 12 by the time we get into Mark. Why isn't there 12? Why is there only 11? Because Matthias was helping. He was that portion of Dan, the eagles that we talked about in those videos that Lost Tribe found, who's going to work during the time of seals for the bride, for the rest of the church. You see that? Otherwise, where's Dan? Where's the 12th? Jesus gives heck to the 11, not the 12th. Because when we read this, if we go in, and I also did a teaching on the last chapter of Romans, the last chapter of 1 Corinthians, and the last chapter of 2 Corinthians, which also reveals the first, second, and third time Christ comes. All right? And Aquila and Priscilla, Aquila, his name means the eagle. And it says what? And they have put their necks on the line for the Gentile churches. All right? So Aquila and Matthias, who is part of him, they are part of the church of Smyrna. And that's why there's only 11 here. Okay? That's the understanding there. And so you could read this, and it says, and they're going to have signs that are going to follow them along the way, casting out devils and so forth. And like I said, then you have the rapture of the church. All right? You have, like I said, you have the 11 through the 144,000. They're going to be given their job to do. Then you get the rapture of the church. There's the received up. You see? This is completely different than what we read in the last chapter of Luke, but there are similarities because in each, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, each time it's talking about Christ when Christ resurrected and was showing himself unto them. But the stories are told differently because of who they are speaking to. We showed these two witnesses and where they were. At the beginning time of trumpets, right? You can even say a little bit before trumpets, just like the 144,000 getting sealed. But when their work begins, it is at the beginning of trumpets, the beginning of the year 2025. All right? Now, we were able to see that connection to the book of Acts in 1 and 15 and 2 and 16 that relate in 2018 and into 2020 into 2019. All right, this springtime, right now, it approximately any time between now and spring, or now, let's say now and Israel turning 71 years old. The 40 days is going to come before that. Now watch. Let me show you that 40 days. What comes after those 40 days? Right? Let's go back into Ezekiel 3 where this kind of started. In Ezekiel 3, we see this group. We see he's there with a group that is escaped, that are safe. He's now told he's going to be a watchman. He's got to go wake the people up that are sleeping. And what is he going to be? Well, they're going to tie him up, right? He's going to be bound. He's going to be brought to prison. He's not going to be able to say anything until the Lord opens his mouth. All right? And then he's going to be able to speak. Those are the same things that we see in chapter 16. And when they're going out and they're preaching the word and they're telling these people and families, like I said, we're getting saved and baptized instantly, like right away, the whole household will get it done. And then what happens? They start, the rulers start to hear of what's going on, and these people are going to have a big voice during those 40 days. And they're going to start capturing them, and they're going to be bringing them before magistrates. Some of them are going to be put to death, that we'll see here in a minute in Luke, and the rest, and then most aren't going to be put to death, but some are going to be put to death. And we see it in Acts 16, when Peter, same thing, Paul, he was out doing these things, and then they're arrested, they're put in prison, and then what comes next? The great earthquake. This great earthquake is going to be the time that that America and the West Coast is essentially gone, right? Completely devastated, and I believe parts of Europe, which I spoke in a previous video. Okay, so here we are. He's in that 40 days, all right? He's about now to speak. He's been bound and caught, just like we saw with Paul. Okay? And what comes next? Let's go to chapter 4. Look at what we see here. And lay siege against it. So talking about Jerusalem here. Let's start in verse 1. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee, and portray upon the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it. And build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it, and set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it, and round about it. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, right, like a shield, and set it for a wall of iron between you and the city, and set your face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay against it. And thou shalt lay siege against it. Look at what it says. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Same thing, guys. This is what is this? What is this talking about? It's following the same order that I showed you guys in Zechariah chapter 1. See that? But it's got the beginning part of chapter 3 in Ezekiel of the 40 days and what's going to happen. And it ties in with the last chapter of Luke. And it ties in with those different parts in the book of Acts with getting those 40 days and the spirit filled that they're going to get and waking up more people to be part of the bride before the 40 days are over. And what happens at the end of those 40 days? Right? 40 or maybe even the 50th. What happens? It's got to be before the 71st. So even at the end of those 40 days, what do we see? Israel surrounded and the affliction beginning. And this is going to be the sign to the house of Israel. You see, this is their time to get out. They're about to see this happen within 3 to 4 months. All right? Within 3 to 4 months. It'll be before their 71st birthday. All right? And we showed these things. All right? This is all in this time frame right here. But we were showing and talking about all these different events within their year that they're going to take place. All right? Now, when we go to Luke, look at Luke 21. This is something that when we look at what I was showing you earlier, if you guys go search this up, it's lastofdays.co.za. It's other/rapture HTM. All right, you can just type this in by this guy that had it in 1993. As far as I know, it's the only dream that this guy ever had. And when you pay attention and you rewatch or you slowly watch what I'm showing you, and you start to read this, you might not understand all of it, but I may end up doing a video about it. You'll see what is being spoken about during those 40 days. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And when we now go here into Luke, this is something that I've been wondering for over a month. All right, over a month now. When we go into Luke 21, into Luke's discourse, let me show you something. We've spoken about this a few times, all right? The whole discourse. Luke is speaking to the bride. Mark is speaking to the church. Matthew is speaking to Judah. We've proven it a dozen different ways from those gospels, all right? And it started off with the discourses. So we see here, then he said unto them, all right? He's speaking to a different group of people here, as if he was overhearing what Matthew and Mark were saying. Because Luke chapter 1, he tells us that he knows all things, that Matthew and Mark's info is good for groups and for those portions. But he says in Luke chapter 1 that he knows all things. All right, that's a big statement. Okay? And we see here, what does he say? Then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. We know that's the beginning of the tribulation. And great earthquakes. Only Luke says that, great earthquakes with an S in all the Bible, because he understands all of them. There's one that's going to begin in the spring of 2019 there, in this late 18, early 19. There's going to be another one at the end of seals. There's going to be another one at the end of trumpets. Okay, there's another one. There's a fourth one, which is at the end of bowls, in bowls there. Okay, at the very end of bowls. Those are the 4 great earthquakes coming. Shall be in place diverse famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Okay? These are seals and these are throughout. You know, I remember Nostradamus talking about it. There's so many earthquakes during the end times that he doesn't even talk about them all. And that's why we see a description of just the great ones. Okay? In the book of Revelation, we see a couple others that aren't described as great because there's just so many. All right? Significant ones outside of the extremely great ones. Okay? So this is tribulation here taking place. But Luke says, you find this only in Luke. But before all these, Jesus says, they shall lay their hands, or Jesus' words, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Okay? So what is this? What did that just say? But before all these things. Before what? Before the tribulation begins, right before the tribulation begins, they're going to lay their hands upon you. They're going to deliver you up into prisons and before kings for my name's sake. and it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it there in your hearts, not to meditate what you shall answer. Don't think about what you're going to say. Don't concern yourself with it. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom. Isn't that what we just saw? We were just reading that in Ezekiel. In Ezekiel chapter 3, I'm going to bound up your mouth, and when it's time, then you're going to speak, and it's not going to be you that's speaking, right? It's the Holy Spirit. When we read it in Mark's discourse, it is said slightly differently. Why? Because in Mark's discourse, that's those for the church of Smyrna as well. These guys are Smyrna, but the church of Smyrna who are going to get beheaded for their faith when they're put into prisons, but the Holy Spirit or the Spirit is going to speak through them. All right? This one here, the Lord says, I am going to give you the words. All right? Just like we saw in Ezekiel. Are you following what I'm saying here? Before the tribulation begins, they're going to do these things. How long are we into this? Days. Days. All right? They won't be able to speak or gainsay or resist what you say, and you shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren and kinfolk and friends, and some of you they shall cause to be put to death. Some, all right? This again is that reference to being part of the church of Smyrna. Church of Smyrna is what? The church of Philadelphia is the 144,000. I know that's hard for many of you to hear, but it's true. The bride is from among all of the Gentile churches, all right? Is from among all the churches, even the Jewish churches, all right? The Hebrew churches. Okay? From among all of them. And we see that Smyrna are the ones that put their necks on the line, which is what we read. You can read in Romans 16, right? And you see that Matthias under the eagle. It's not Matthias, though. They've got it as Aquila. He is the same representation of Matthias, which is why we didn't see 12 like we were talking about in Mark earlier. All right? Some of you shall be put to death, and you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not a hair on your head that shall perish. In your patience possess you your souls. Now listen to this. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Remember? Within those 40 days, right? You're to wake the people up, and if they end up dying in their sin, it's their own problem as long as you started telling them, right? There's this group, like we see the 120, they're going to be given these words to go out and to preach the understanding. All right? They have to go out. Their mouth is going to be locked up a little bit. They won't be able to say until the Lord gives them the words. And then what comes next? Jerusalem is encompassed by armies, but not yet destroyed. See? It shall be besieged. And it's going to be the sign for the church that it's begun. It's exactly what we're reading here in Luke. In this portion of Luke, from verse 12 to verse 22, we see them being captured, just like in Acts. All right? We see them being captured, and some of them being put into prison, some of them killed. This is all within 40 days. Because then it says, then you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies. This is before Jerusalem. This is before, all right? And Judea. This is before Israel turns 71. We are approximately 14 years away from the year 2031. All right? It began in 2018. And let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let them which are in the midst thereof depart out, and let them that are in the countries, and let not them that are in the countries enter into it. All right? Why? Because it's about to be destroyed. Why don't we see the destruction here in Luke? Because the bride will not see the destruction. Because that will be the beginning of the tribulation. You following this? This is all 40 days. Look by verse 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Where do all those things begin? Up here. So you see, this isn't yet. This is the kickoff right before the tribulation. What are these guys going to be doing during 40 days that they're getting arrested for their faith? This is going to be some serious before government officials, maybe going into parliament or courthouses. I don't know. But it's got to be serious, because a lot of the world is going to hate these guys. They're going to be throwing them into prison. All within the 40 days. And when you see Jerusalem then compassed about with armies, know that the vengeance of these days that I said had to take place, of all these things, will now begin. And how do we know the bride's not part of it? Because right here, Luke 21, verse 34 through 36. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with the suffering and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. If you're listening to this video and following this ministry, it ain't going to come upon you unawares, all right? For as a snare shall it come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. That dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always that you be found accounted worthy to escape. Beautiful words. To escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. All these things, all right? That all things which are written may be fulfilled. When? At the end of the 40 days. This is upon us, guys. It's so at the doorstep that you've already begun to open the door. You've unlocked the door, and you're about to step in. Who are these chosen ones yet that are going to have to go through this? I don't know. We won't know yet, not until that time. And believe me, it won't be a mystery. It will not be a mystery when it begins. All right? You will not be sitting there. I wonder if it's me. You will have the Son of Man, the Spirit of the Lord, present, letting you know exactly what's going on. And I believe that group might even be taken, as we read in many different areas, might be taken somewhere else. Remember, just like Christ, remember the glorified bodies some of them will get? All right? Some will get glorified bodies. Not all of them will get glorified bodies, hence those that will die. Okay? And those that die, they will end up under the altar. All right? This is the first portion of the beginning of that group that goes under the altar. And then, of course, during the rest, as the seals continue and the seals begin, you're going to have those that are under the altar, and especially at that time when the real beheadings of Christians begins and so forth. All right? Church of Smyrna, guys. Crazy. This is a 40-day. From verse 12 to verse 22 is telling us about a 40-day. All right? Now watch this. Let's finish up with this and we will be good. So you guys, I showed you guys where you guys can print this off now, right? So you can find that there. You can also help support the ministry. It would be appreciated. We're not going to listen to all of it. I got a couple notes here. We'll listen to it all, but I'll interrupt in a few spots that I made notes. And we'll end it before the 6-minute mark, all right? So listen to this. Look at this. Over 1.4 million views. And it was posted January 1st, 2019. Now, this is a big channel, all right? Listen to what he says. And this is why Keith sent it to me. because it said the year 2033. Well, obviously, and because he listened to it, but this is what gets the attention, 2033, because we know things, all right? We know it's 2031 to 32, and then from all of 2032 going into 2033, all right, is the end. That's when the restoration of each land to each tribe and the millennial kingdom will begin. Okay? So let's listen to what he has to say. And remember the timeline that I showed you. These are times I've been speaking about for over a year. And listen to what the enemy says. It is clearly the enemy because he speaks it as all wonderful, beautiful things. It is not. I'm giving you warning. Do not be deceived by what you're about to hear. I've shown you before this came about so that when you see it, you will know this is the enemy. All right? Check this out.
We at Apex TV were recently sent an email containing this audio file.
Hello Apex TV, my name is Daryl Dean, and what I'm about to say is going to be very hard to believe for a lot of people. All that I ask is that you, whoever's out there listening to this, in whatever year you happen to be in, keep an open mind.
It tells the story.
Okay, do I believe it's a time traveler? No. Do I completely reject it out the window because maybe one day in the future? I don't know. I'm not from the future. All right? I just know what the scriptures are telling us. But it is clearly from the enemy, and it's very encouraging for those of us who understand the season that we're in, that we're about to see the Lord. All right?
Of a man claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2033. In the recording, he gives amazing details about the future. Watch this and decide for yourself.
Hello Apex TV, my name is Daryl Dean, and what I'm about to say is going to be very hard to believe for a lot of people. All that I ask is that you, whoever's out there listening to this, in whatever year you happen to be in, keep an open mind. My natural year is the year 2033. In 2028, time travel is released to the public.
Okay, you hear that? In 2028, time travel is released. Now, we're not focusing on the time travel. I don't care about that. We're relating what these things that he's going to talk about to what the scriptures tell us and what we've been showing in the 14 years, right? But I just want you to pay attention. He's saying time travel will be released in 2028.
Humans have the ability to travel into both the future and the past. I'm going to be in the year 2018 very briefly. And when I'm here...
Okay, so he's here talking as if he's in the year 2018. This was at some point later last year, all right? And the video got posted January 1st, 2019. Technically, knowingly, still 2018, all right?
I wanted to send you this in an effort to tell the general public what the future holds. I'm 27 years old and was born in 2006. I still remember when time travel was released to the public. It was huge. It was around the same time when the existence of aliens was also revealed.
Okay, right off the bat, he's gonna talk about this a little bit more later, but did you hear that? At the time that time travel was released was the same year that the existence of aliens were also revealed. And he's going to talk about that a little bit more. What year was time travel? 2028. What year do we show time travel? Or sorry, not time travel. What year do we show the aliens, quote unquote aliens? 2028. Keep watching. That's just the beginning.
I want to walk you through some of the things that are going to happen. When I was 15 years old, in the year 2021, there's going to be a chip released.
Hello? Hear that? In the year 2021, there is going to be a chip released
that allows your brain to become an
average 6 times more powerful. In the year what? 2021. The chip will be released. See that? Mark of the beast. This was done over a year ago. 2021. It will be released.
Average 6 times more powerful than it normally is. It's because this chip allows your brain to access the internet, and there is free Wi-Fi in the future that covers the entire planet.
Now, I can't go into this, but I heard from a source that I have that there's, he's talking about this internet that just covers and surrounds the world. That's to be available at this time as well. It's already it's pretty much done. All right, and it's a secret thing right now as well.
The brain chip goes in your forehead, and there's another chip that goes in your right hand, and this is the one that lets you pay for things. There is no cash in the future. Everything is paid for digitally. I actually have both of these chips. Now when I travel back in time, like how I came back to the year 2018, I can't really use my brain chip because there is no global internet. The chip really is amazing though, because it basically gives you super...
Please remember, I know you guys watching already know, it is not going to be amazing. It's going to be eternity in the pit.
...human abilities. There's a lot of cool things in the future. Speaking of superhuman abilities, we also have these exosuit things that once you put them on, you can run for miles without getting tired, and can lift things that are thousands of pounds with ease. These are released in the
these are released in the early 2020s. This is very interesting too. We don't have biblical stuff about this, but you think about the armies and stuff that are going to be battling around the world when the war really breaks out and keeps going, right? These guys that'll have superhuman abilities because of these suits that they're wearing, and we've already seen videos of people that have these types of technology, right? Or at least similar.
Early 2020s. One of my personal favorite pieces of technology are the contact lenses that not only give you better vision, but they also let you record everything you see. Now I know many people in this time may think that losing privacy is bad, but it's actually a very good thing, because there's no crime in the future, and it's really safe. I'm not saying that...
Now that's a ton of baloney. We know that. It's going to be covered with war. So see, we understand the propaganda of this, and no, it's not a guy from the future. It's propaganda from the enemy, but just wait till you see as he keeps talking.
There's no problems in the future though. Global warming is a huge problem, and the melting of sea ice in the Arctic has caused sea levels to rise tremendously, and many major cities are underwater in the future.
Many major cities are underwater in the future. Wonder why that is, right? We know there's something coming. Even when you look at the end of the sixth seal in the year 2024, right? Look at that destruction through 2023, 2024 that's going to happen throughout the earth when the earth is struck by all these things. Many major cities are going to be underwater in the future. All right, you're going to hear him later speak about a population of the world at 9 billion at the time. It's a lie. It will not be. All right, we know that from the devastation and from the escape and from the rapture and so forth. All right, remember, propaganda, but listen to the dates. Listen to these years he's giving us.
In the year 2022, the government of the United States announces that all food will be provided for free to its citizens. World hunger is not completely ended, however, because overpopulation is a big issue.
You see, in the year 2022, I think he said, that food will be given for free. Why? Because they got the chip. If you don't take the chip, you're going to starve and eventually die. And you're going to have to be willing to die. If you have children and you're living during that time and you miss the escape, you're going to have to, I'm sorry, this is going to sound brutal. You're going to have to be willing to allow the children. If you can't come up with food anywhere, you've been eating whatever you can, you're going to have to be willing to be strong enough. Pray with all of your might. Seek the Lord with all of your heart. He will answer you. But when that time comes, you're going to have to watch them go. And you will soon go after it. There's no, eating of people. You stay away from that. You can't do it. Don't listen to this utopia this guy's talking about. All right? Just pay attention. It's a lie, but pay attention because the lie has the truth of the timing in it. And we know it because we share it and we reveal it here through the Spirit in this ministry. All right? It's going to be brutal. And see, if you have that chip, all food is free. All right? Stay away and fear not what will happen to this body of yours here on earth. Because the glory of what comes after is far beyond any imagination of any suffering we could possibly ever do on this planet. As brutal as it'll feel and seem at that time, it is nothing compared to the glory that follows.
population of Earth is nearly 9 billion in the year 2033. It may be weird to think, but India is actually the most populated country in the future. In the year 2025, a base is open on the moon and people can actually visit it for a fee. In the year 2026, there are robotic hands released that look exactly like human hands. Almost all diseases are cured as well, because we can 3D print organs and other body parts, which lets people just replace parts of their body if they aren't working. The period of the year 2025 to 2030.
Guys, do you understand? See, I love this, but it makes me tear up. Do we understand? I said in the beginning, how many have ever heard of 14 years before coming to this ministry? Before the Lord revealing it to me, I had never heard of it I didn't even know it was a thing. How does this character, whoever this is, know about this? How does he know the chip time of 21 and then into 22 with the food, the destruction of cities, underwater? Do you guys follow what I'm saying? He's got it over what? The perspective of 2018 to the end of 2030. Right? Which would then go into 31 with the Lord's return. How does he know this? He's not the Lord's. He doesn't belong to the Lord. But he has 14 years. He has 14 years. How is that possible? It's the enemy. The period of the year 2025 to 2030. It is 6 years. Oh, you can count it as 5, but it's all of 25. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Is absolutely crazy. What was I saying? Those 6 years from 2025 to the end of 2030 are going to be absolutely crazy. It is as the days of Noah, and that Satan and his demons that will be quote unquote seen as aliens are going to be there after having lost their battle. They're going to be there in the year 2028. Keep listening.
It's absolutely crazy. So much happens. People in the year 2018 probably can't even imagine it. You guys are in for a ride, I assure you that.
Not a good one.
In the year 2027, artificial intelligence matches human intelligence and starts to become conscious. And that's a big misconception in your time. Most people think that people are going to go and explore the whole universe. But actually, as humans advance, everything is going to get smaller, not bigger. And eventually, we will start uploading our brains to computers and start simulating realities. But that's later in the 2060s. The furthest I've gone into the future is the year 3000. And oh my gosh, is it incredible. It's basically a utopia and I can barely even describe it. When time travel is released to the public in the year 2028, I highly recommend going to around the year 2000 just for a trip. Time vacations are very common in the future. Speaking of the year 2028 though, early in that year it is announced that there are actually aliens that have been visiting Earth for a long time. These alien species then start to integrate with our society.
Hello. They've been coming for a long time. That's no mystery to us that are watching and paying attention and seeking these understandings. But by the year 2028, they will now be among society on Earth. You see, he puts it out. Everything is it being beautiful and everything. We know the truth. 2028. We know the truth. It blows my mind. When I saw this, my head practically exploded. I was talking to my wife about it, and she didn't go as wow as me. She gets it, but for me, maybe because it's just this stuff is happening to me through the Spirit. But I'll tell you, this blew my mind away that he was revealing 14 years, but from the completely opposite angle of everything being beautiful and lovely and awesome. You know, some of it seems just too crazy, doesn't it? How can all of these things happen? Look at where we are in the year 2018, right? The late 2018, our Gregorian, technically, you know, in the Gregorian 2019, but in late 2018, how is it possible all this stuff is going to happen in such a short period of time? Because it's all prepared. They've been coming for a long time, giving these world leaders, these societies that have been building this stuff and preparing for this time to take over the earth, to prepare when their leader Satan will come. Crazy.
And start living with us. Later that year, like I said, time travel technology is released to the public. It does take around another year for time traveling to be made commercial, and it is pretty expensive at first, but the price drops down over time. I almost think it's more fun to use virtual reality in the future though, because we have these suits that you put on and you really feel like you're in that reality. You can go anywhere and do anything. You can even sit down and talk with relatives who have passed away. Another thing you can do with those brain chips that I mentioned is telepathy. If you think about it, talking with your mouth takes way longer than it needs to. This is fixed, because since everyone is connected to the internet with their brain chips, you can talk to someone by just thinking. I know it might sound weird now, but just wait, it's awesome. Trust me. Another thing.
Do not trust them. All right? I'm sharing this to show you how the enemy, in a video with almost 1.5 million views in just over a month, knows what we know. It could only have come from the enemy. Don't believe them. It is a lie sprinkled with the truth of the timing. And we've got it revealed right here and throughout videos, all throughout videos here in Ministry Revealed for over a year now. Incredible, incredible, incredible stuff. Amazing. I love you guys. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.